Welcome back to Let's Play Apollo Justice. Ace Attorney, Unleashed Advanced 64D. We just daily dodged Phoenix Wright for getting a conviction. However, he decided to imply someone else. I'm not sure where this is going, but let's see. Court will now reconvene. Has our witness, Miss Olga Orly, recovered?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness.
Perhaps we can hear her version of the events again?
That's the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued.
You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne. Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify or prosecute. The defense would like to request that Miss Orly be taken to the stand. Very well. The witness will take the stand. Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession? Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and poor loser?
Yeah. Not.
Name's Olga, really. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quick Fingers O'Reilly. Oh, really? Wanna know something else? I'm not really Russian. My last name sounds like "oh really." There, that's the truth. Hope you're satisfied. Witness, you will tell the court what you were really up to that night. Fine, I'll talk. We got a plan, see? Let me remind you that you are currently under oath. Any further fabrications will have serious consequences. Fine. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy, Smith, hired me to do what I do best. I was planted at the Borscht Bowl Club several days prior to the night of the game. As the waitress. So you were in cahoots with the victim! Not that he needed my help. Smith is a well-known poker player in some circles. But winning wasn't the main purpose of the game. It was about destroying a legend, the unbeatable Phoenix Wright. The plan was simple. Elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When the hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card and the trap would snap shut. He swapped the cards! Exposed as a cheater and losing on top of it, it would have made a great double play. Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Indeed. Getting caught red-handed at cheating would cast doubt on all his prior wins. 7 years legend destroyed one little card. That was the plan. Oh really, oh really. How droll. But it appears you made quite the mistake. The mistake? I agree. The trap was elegant. Yet, what happened to that planted card? That's right! He's lucky, I'll give him that. You'd have to be to slip free from the trap laid by the Olga Quick Fingers O'Reilly. Oh, really? The witness would be much cuter if she dispensed with that evil mastermind shtick. Cute? Who wants to be cute? I'm not cute. I'm bad, you hear me? Bad. When you're through being bad, perhaps you could testify to the court? Tell us about this trap, and how it was sprung. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to. And Wright lost the last hand like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. The next moment, Wright picked up the bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith, it was a no-good cheating defendant. Huh. A surprisingly frank testimony that still leaves us mostly in the dark. The trap was perfect, I tell you, perfect. And that rotten cheater hadn't messed it up. Well, look who's talking! Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, is all yours, Mr. Justice. With witnesses like her, who needs criminals? And with defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors? But something's odd about this. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to. This planted card, which card was it exactly? The trump card. the 5 of hearts. Let me guess. Mr. Wright was to switch the 5 with the ace to make a full house. At least that's what you were going to accuse him of doing, thereby ruining his legend. I slid it into Wright's pocket. When was this? Why, before the match, of course, while he was eating. At the Borscht Bowl Club, we serve borscht and suckers. You want me to never go there? Of course, the car was going to make a grand debut during the game. Like a good borscht, a good plot must be cooked up early and allowed to thicken. And Wright lost the last hand like he was supposed to, and Smith searched him. So everything went according to your plan. Exactly. The 5th ace came up, so it was obvious the switch went off without a hitch. Once the extra card was found in his pocket, Wright would be forever known as a cheat and a fraud. There was things to be known as, I suppose. Tell us what happened with the search. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. The card disappeared? Yeah, my trump card, the 5 of hearts. Gone, without a trace. Poof, zippo. We searched every nook and cranny, even inside his cute little hat. But the card was nowhere to be found, is that correct? Never in my long, storied career, never as quick fingers or really, have been so readily duped. Oh really? So what did happen to 5 of hearts? Don't look at me. I only asked the cheating, lying, two-faced defendant. So the 5 of hearts is still missing in action. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd? You searched Mr. Wright thoroughly and found nothing? Which means he didn't cheat. Which means he had no reason to strike the victim. Well... What was that just now? I sensed something. Something wrong, Mr. Justice? No, nothing, Your Honor. What to do? Should I press her a little harder? Yes. Miss O'Reilly, you're hiding something! What are you talking about? You... Me? Quick fingers O'Reilly? Hide something? The defense will refrain from baseless accusations. I have one question for the witness then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. I did see it, honest. I saw it when Wright hit him. With my own eyes, I saw it. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? That witness, for instance, Miss O'Reilly, she would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of the testimony. Did you notice? Touching her neck, was it? Whoa, what's going on? This is the new mechanic of Apollo Justice. Sensation. It's coming into focus. That twitch, it's so clear. It's like I could perceive her habit like I couldn't before. Mr. Apollo is able to notice their habits during interrogations and perceive them. Gotcha. Mr. O'Reilly, perhaps you are unaware of this yourself. Unaware of what? Whenever you get it to a certain part of your testimony, you touch the back of your neck with your left hand. My neck? So what? What indeed, Justice? I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. When she says the part of her testimony, she's subconsciously recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory and she touches her neck. I'm sure of it. A memory? Well, someone can explain what he's battling about. This is highly unusual, but let's ask the defense. You claim the witness is remembering something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us? Her habit is scratching her neck whenever she's talking at the moment of the crime. So what would remind her most of the moment of the crime? So really, whenever you recall the crime that night, you scratch your neck. I've noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I believe the weapon that left an erasable impression of the neck is this. Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. And what reminds us more of the moment than this bottle, the murder weapon. But something doesn't fit. If you were the only witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain?
What's he talking about?
It was Mr. Smith, the victim, who was hit.
Not you! This is a cross-examination, not a cross-wild conjecture. The witness's habits? They're completely irrelevant.
Justice, I'll admit, I'm a bit confused myself. This is certainly a unique cross-examination.
I'll explain later.
Just trust me, now's the only chance to break her. Ms. O'Reilly, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment!
Yet, I am knowing nothing.
We know you're not Russian. The witness will testify, please. Now.
Bah, fine. He's the one who did it. I didn't let him out of my sight until the cops got here.
You seem uneasy. You try sitting up here. Her eyes are darting all over the place. It's beginning warm. Tell me, after the crime, what was the defendant like?
Well, he must have been stunned by the weight of his crime. He sat in a daze at the table until the cops came.
Intriguing. I believe you've gotten all the testimony you're going to get out of this witness. So what do you think about her testimony?
I'll tell you what I think. Testimony is flawed. It's basically bogus. Contradicts the evidence. What's that?
Well, so is his evidence, Mr. Justice. The evidence that you claim contradicts the testimony.
She didn't let him out of his sight until the cops got there.
I know there's some evidence that contradicts that.
The phone!
Ms. O'Reilly, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you said.
It states that the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. And we know that the defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made that phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bowl Club. So explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely! Man who picked up the bottle and swung it that night wasn't the defendant.
Showdown time.
Dirty cheat.
Check his pockets. Now.
It's gone! The card's gone!
You lose.
Ah!
Just then, Smith grabbed the bottle from next to Wright, and he hit me.
Some master cheater you turned out to be. When I came to,
the victim was already dead. Is that it?
That's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. When I came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure.
Well, where does this leave us?
Madness! This is madness! I'm dreaming! It must have been me who was hit with a bottle and imagining all of this!
It appears our prosecution is at its wit's end. And frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events?
Mr. Gavin,
sir?
I believe that, as the defense is in this case, we are compelled to call Mr. O'Reilly a big fat liar. What?
Three were in the room on the night of the murder, the defendant, the victim, and her. And she has a motive.
A motive?
Her plot foiled, the witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. The denouement of that argument was murder.
What? I'm no killer. That's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me.
What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled, we catch ourselves in the process. Mr. Wright? Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph. What are you saying? Why not consider the other possibility? That there was another person in the room at the time of the murder. Right, like Mr. Wright was saying before recess. A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder. And the one who swapped the card didn't know two colors of cards were being used. A fourth person. This theory again! Your fourth person doesn't exist! Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape, no chance of deception. The perfect place to catch the real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. A clue to the real criminal identity was kindly provided for us. And right at the beginning of the trial, no less. But what? Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about? Sorry. Remember what I said. The fourth person who swapped the cards made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the colors on the back of the cards. Right. But how would one such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used in the last game were red. Yet, there was one person here in our court who thought those cards were blue. Yeah, I had that impression too. But why? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was? It's not me, I swear! Who was the fourth person? Why do we always get put on the spot like this? Let's hear what the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? It couldn't be, could it? You said they were blue. You even made poetry about it. But what does this mean? As I expected. Your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right? Christoph Gavin, you were the fourth person that night. But of course Mr. Gavin knows the colors of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of the crime scene is in black and white. You can't tell which of the cards are blue, the ones on the floor and the table. But look! As you can see the colors of the photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, I was well before the evidence came to light. It was true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim. Yet it was only that, a game in the purest sense, a competition, Your Honor. A competition? Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs wreathed in blue flame, know its final outcome. Well, Christoph? Mr. Gavin? Mr. Gavin, is something the matter? Huh? No, nothing. Excuse me, it was just so sudden. Right? You aren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Christoph? You know even I'd never take a joke this far. This has gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. This is insanity. The defendant accusing his own defense attorney of murder? I assure you, I'm quite sane. But what possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim? I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either. Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim have never even met! Well, what if they have? Huh? There is one possibility, after all. They may have met that night, before the game started. But what are you suggesting? Is this the truth Mr. Wright is saying silent about? Well, only one thing to do. Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin? The testimonies must relate to the case. How could anything happening before the game of poker be related? I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin. As I explained before, the defense believes that Miss O'Reilly... Am I to assume you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He's the defense, not you.
Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you. Oh, okay. Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony? I'm so fired. This is Mr. Wright's strategy. He was planning this all along. And I intend to see it through. I am so fired. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. Et tu, Justice. You would betray me, your teacher. I'm sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. This is about the truth. Very well. The defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. Shotty Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call. The defense attorney, Gavin. Mr. Gavin! You were at the Borscht Bowl Club the night of the murder? I dine with him rather frequently. And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder? Quite against my will, I had become involved in a murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you, Wright? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then, and now. I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong. Very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness. Justice. Sir! He's lying and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright, this can't end well. Why can't I have a normal trial? You can tell he's new to these games. He thought he has a normal trial. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. You had dinner with Mr. Gavin? Yeah, he dines with me at the Borscht Bowl Club quite frequently. We were enjoying a usual dinner at a usual spot, as usual. Usual? I always eat at the bowl table closest to the piano. I see. Where Mr. Smith was sitting. So the plates on the table were from your dinner? Indeed. The remnants of my meal with Kristoff. We dined for 2 hours, then Kristoff left. After that, Shotty Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. 5 minutes? So the two of them could have passed in the restaurant during that time? That would have been a fateful encounter, to be sure. Oh, Mr. Wright. What was it you said? Kristoff, Gavin, and Shotty Smith may have met? I believe I did say that. You know, I was all nervous about this meeting. Now I just hear they just passed in the hall? Huh. That does seem a little weak as a pretense for murder. Oh, it would be, if that was all that really happened. Come on, Mr. Wright. What are you hiding this time? When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Miss Olga Orly mentioned. The plan was simple. Elegant, really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then dealt 5 aces during one of the games. When the hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then call out the planted card, and the trap would snap shut. You swapped the cards! Just like that, the legend would be dashed to pieces. Yeah, a harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it. A quirk? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. The card she planted. Yes, I snuck a peek at it and found it was the 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card. Before the game. Disposed? Where? There was an empty bottle of grape juice that I'd been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. An empty bottle of grape juice? With a murder weapon? Yeah, I rolled it up and shoved it in. Colored glass makes it hard to see. Huh. Battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. That sounds like terrific drama. A card inside a murder weapon? That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look. Mr. Wright, the poker head of courtroom number 3 approves of this battle of wits. Please revise your testimony with this new information. I discovered the trap during the game and disposed of the card in the bottle. Let's check that again. This is the murder weapon? The bottle is completely empty. It's sure not this one. If it is a bottle, it's not this. Why in the bottle? I received my opponent's intent immediately. I'm used to entrapment, you see. I knew what was coming. Oh, so you struck first. I like that. I knew every trick in the book. They don't work on me. At least, when you get lucky and stick your hand in your pockets, they don't. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. You made the call to the police from the first floor of the restaurant, correct? Exactly. Cell phones don't get a signal down in the hideout. Was everyone else on the first floor at the time? Not a soul. It was the middle of the night, after all. So there, in the darkened restaurant, I called the cops. After making the call, I returned to the hideout. It didn't seem right to leave the injured waitress alone. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from the cut in his forehead. And when he returned, the victim was already dead, yes. I'll admit, I was a little startled when I walked in. A little? He was bleeding from his forehead, after all. I guess I'd be startled too if I walked in on a scene like that. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Could you explain why you called Mr. Gavin? It's obviously gotten involved in a rather sticky affair. And I figured Kristoff's law offices would give me a friend rate for my defense fees. Ah, glad to hear you intended to pay. Oh, I'll pay in full, Kristoff. It was I who got you involved, after all. You may find the price of your defense quite high, my good friend. Quite high. Is this the truth that Mr. Wright is talking about? Justice, you know what you have to do. He's lying. Expose him, now. Yes, sir. I have to think, what's Mr. Wright trying to tell me with this testimony? Truth has to be in there somewhere. Let's go to the trap and dispose of the card in a bottle. In the bottle. Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes. I've examined the bottle and I don't see any card in there. Huh? No? What, Mr. Wright? Surely isn't all you have to say for yourself. I can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in the bottle, however. Huh? Perhaps a fifth person came and took it out? Oh, and a sixth person could have helped. Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client. My apologies, Your Honor. I don't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle. There was nothing. What's going on? Mr. Wright's hoodwinking us again? Or did the card just disappear? In any case, please continue your cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh. Push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on our client's side anymore? That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in his photograph. Johnny Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. I discovered the trap during the game and disposed of the card in the bottle. The girl was knocked out cold, and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut in his forehead. That's when I made another phone call to defense attorney Gavin. Okay. Well, now what? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Is this right? Witness statement is clearly the fault, Your Honor. No, maybe not. Throw a trap during the game and dispose of the cards in the bottle. Wait a minute. He's double. Wait a minute. Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take a look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He's wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood from his forehead. Good point. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? Ah, I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat back on his head. Eh? You? You put the hat on the dead man's head? He wore it through the entire poker game. After calling the police, when we returned to the scene, his head was in full view. Shining bright, just like in the photograph. And I picked his hat off of the floor, put it on his head. Why would you do such a thing like that? All I can say is, I'm sorry. But that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Miss O'Reilly didn't see it? It being the victim's, its head? I'd rather think not. She was out cold. I believe I was the one who witnessed his head. The only one. Ah, here we go again. Mr. Gavin? Pardon. It seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. Hey, he's still our client, isn't he? I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Christoph. I never knew. I believe it was you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card in the bottle to dispose of it. And when I put the hat on the victim's head, thus to say I had a reason for doing that as well. A reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night. Recall that I spoke with the defense attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I see no reason why I shouldn't play it back for the court. Christoph, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good? He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him. Hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china plate? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. The cops should be here any moment. I'm in your hands. Should have come to that. Bone china plate? Kind of porcelain. Very smooth and shiny. It's not plate, but pate. But pate. I believe he's referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. The court appreciates the defendant's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second. Something's not right about that phone call. So after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club? Most certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this bone china plate? The bone china pate? Oh, that's right! Yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene.
And when I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court? Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is your reason. The reason why you put the victim's hat back on. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it? Phoenix Wright. I feel like I'm in the middle of something I shouldn't be.
Order! I will have order! Mr. Payne!
Yes, Your Honor!
I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear Defense Attorney Gavin's testimony?
Well, the prosecutor,
Very well. We'll break for 10 minutes. After which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for a cross-examination. Are we all clear on that?
Crystal clear, Your Honor.
Very well. This will be the final recess for the day.
Really feels like I'm in something that I should not be.
Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chambers. I would have thought today would turn out like this.
May I? What? Hello, sir. Please pick a card.
What's all this all about? Is this one okay?
Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it.
A trump card?
The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all.
An ace. Where do I remember this card from?
It's in its hand and 3 aces, and Mr. Wright's 2. It is 5 aces in all. It is true. I've seen it. The 5th ace. It is cheating, I swear to you.
The missing 5th ace. Wait, this blotch of red. Is this blood?
You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. My father's fate is in your hands. I know you can do it.
This blood-stained card is my trump card for finding the truth? There we go. I fell deep into thought as my mind raced to understand what it all meant. That girl. I'd seen her recently, but where? That's when I made the connection. Let's go.